I can predict an asset that will be up massively in the future. You want to know what it is? Well, of course, it's Bitcoin. But the important thing is why. Why can I predict that Bitcoin will be up massively in the future, whereas it's not possible to do that with other assets in other markets? And the reason is because Bitcoin is unique in that we have known for thousands of years what are the attributes of a good money. So it's not new. We've known literally for thousands of years that a good money is divisible, durable, portable, fungible, authenticatable, and most importantly, scarce. Those 6 attributes. We've known that for thousands of years. So if you came to me and said, Joel, I'm not into Bitcoin, if you're still ignorant enough to think it's a scam, whatever. Okay. You're like, no, I want to invest in real estate. Where? Where's the next hot spot in real estate? The answer is, I don't know. Nobody really knows because hot spots change. Is Oxford, Mississippi a red hot real estate market you should invest in? Or is it peaking right now and about to crash? Nobody knows. Is Charlotte, North Carolina the ideal place to buy real estate, or is it about to crash? Nobody knows. Same in the stock market. Is the stock market about to crash? Is OpenAI with ChatGPT going to be what wins in the world of AI? Is NVIDIA the company that's going to win in the chip market? We don't know. And in the markets where we do know who the winner is, there's not near as much upside left as there used to be. So if somebody said, yeah, but I'm going to invest in social media by Facebook or in electric cars by Tesla or, online search with Google, it's like, okay, you can take the Magnificent Seven stocks, each of which dominate their markets, and you can invest in those, but those are ridiculously high-priced stocks right now, and a huge amount of the value accrual for those things has already happened. So you're effectively betting on something that already happened when investing returns are made on what is yet to happen. So if you're always betting on the certainties, you're always betting on the things that have already had a massive increase in price. But if you're investing, what you need to know is you need to know something in the future that's going to have a massive increase in price that you can know now. The problem is in stocks, bonds, real estate, precious metals, all of those things, there's no way to know with certainty what the asset will be that will have a massive gain in the future. Because again, we just don't know for those things. We know for money. Money, we know. Even in precious metals, silver is like way up right now. But nobody has a good reason why. I mean, silver is used in a lot of industrial stuff, but that's always been the case. I can't imagine AI chips are using enough silver to have any meaningful impact on the marketplace. Mainly silver's up because gold was up. And all the people who missed out on the gold rally felt like maybe silver would have a rally after the gold rally. And so a bunch of people who missed out on gold bought silver for no good reason. And I don't know, maybe there will be a big run in palladium or copper or platinum or something like that. But there's no way to predict that. It's just basically gambling where you're betting on what dumb move the other people are going to make. Now, the reason I don't recommend investing in gold is because gold is competing on its monetary properties, and Bitcoin is superior on those monetary properties. So you don't want to invest in something when the next thing that makes it obsolete is already on the table. So that's why I would not invest in Google. Google dominates online search. Now, they also have YouTube and they have other things as well. But as it relates to online search, I would not invest in Google because ChatGPT has already been invented. And the vast majority of time I used to go to Google, I now go to ChatGPT. Huge numbers of people are not using search engines anymore. They're using AI because AI is way more effective at getting you what you need to know than online search. So if what is going to make something obsolete is already known, in this case, I think online search is made obsolete by AI. Well, then you don't invest in online search when AI has already been invented. Same, I would never invest in gold now that Bitcoin has already been invented because Bitcoin is a better money. It has better monetary properties. You can send it anywhere in the world in seconds. You can authenticate it. You actually know it's real Bitcoin. You can't know that with gold. So there's no way to do that with most asset classes. So if you came to me and said, Joel, give me a stock tip, my answer is I've been investing in the stock market for decades prior to going all in on Bitcoin. I don't have a special stock tip for you. I don't have a special bond tip. I don't have a special, you can get on the prediction markets, Polymarket and Kalshi and start betting on, sports betting, and you can bet on basically everything on the planet right now. The problem is, again, you just don't know what's the next big thing is. So when you don't know, it's actually possible to say, okay, what do we know? We know humans are going to use money because we're not going back to barter. In a modern economy, nobody goes back to barter. We know humans are going to use money. Okay, so if we know humans are going to use money, then do we know what the attributes are of a good money? And yes, we do. For thousands of years, we've known divisible, durable, portable, fungible, authenticatable, and scarce. Most importantly, scarce. We've known the attributes of good money. So when a new money is invented, when Bitcoin was invented in 2009, exactly 17 years ago, Bitcoin's 17th birthday was 3 days ago, January 3rd. The Bitcoin blockchain launched on January 3rd of 2009. So as of January 3rd, just a few days ago, it is now 17 years old. So for 17 years, we have been able to look at the attributes of Bitcoin and say, that is a better money. Humans will always use money. Bitcoin is a better money. Therefore, we can predict that the future of Bitcoin is very bright. Now, the only way that would not be the case is if Bitcoin is already fully monetized, meaning everyone in the world is already using Bitcoin. So if 8 billion people have already adopted Bitcoin and it is their primary form of savings, store of value, medium of exchange, unit of account, if that has already happened, then I would say, okay, it's still going to go up in value 3% per year because that's what human productivity growth is. And the money, as long as the money supply is fixed, which it is with Bitcoin at 21 million, then the value of the money goes up with human productivity growth. But as long as you're adopting Bitcoin before 8 billion people do, then your upside is way higher. We know what the attributes of a good money are, and we know that only about 5% of the world owns any Bitcoin at all, which means 95% of the world owns zero Bitcoin. Zero Bitcoin for 95% of the world. Okay, of the 5% of the people who own Bitcoin, it represents a very small percent of their portfolio for most of them. Now, I'm at 100%. I don't have any stocks. I don't have any bonds. I have practically zero US dollar cash other than tiny bank account balances just to make sure I don't bounce a check to a babysitter that doesn't yet take Bitcoin or something like that. But I've got basically nothing but stock I bought in Prospera on the island of Roatan and Bitcoin. That's my only two assets. And the Prospera stock is not liquid. So my only liquid asset is Bitcoin. That's what I use to buy everything. I use it to buy groceries. I use it to pay bills. Utilities. I use Bitcoin for everything. Okay. Very few of the 5% of people who own any Bitcoin at all are like me. The vast majority of the 5% of people who own any Bitcoin, it represents a pretty small percentage of their portfolio. Maybe they have $50, maybe they have $200, maybe they have a few $1,000s. But it's actually, the upside is far, 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 far larger than that. So very few of that 5% have any meaningful amount of Bitcoin. Most of the 5% of people who own any Bitcoin, it represents a very small percent of their assets, which means not only does 95% of the world need a better money, the other 5% who own some Bitcoin needs a lot more Bitcoin than they currently own, which means if you're buying Bitcoin now, you are buying an asset where the world needs the category, which is money. You know what the better money is in advance, which is Bitcoin. And you can buy it before 95% of the world has figured that out. Or before 98 or 99% of the world has fully figured it out. So I can predict in the future that Bitcoin will have a massive increase in its price. And I can do that entirely based on first principles. Now, again, the problem is you can't do that in any other category. If somebody said, I can predict with certainty that Tesla will win the marketplace because humans are going to drive cars and Tesla's the best electric car, it's like, yeah, but it might not stay that way. For a bunch of reasons that I've covered in numerous other videos, there is no reason to believe that Bitcoin will ever have serious competition from anything. Again, unless we move into a world of holograms or something where, the human body is not even, suspended in reality anymore. Like we would have to go through a revolution as big as the analog to digital revolution, which has happened over the last couple hundred years. We would need an entire paradigm shift in what it means to be human, what it means to exchange value, all of that for something to then have an opportunity to compete in an entirely new paradigm. Which again, I don't think is going to happen in the next hundreds of years, maybe not in the next thousands of years. So Bitcoin will benefit from a massive increase in price at some point, probably 2026, but the future's uncertain. What is not uncertain is that it will happen. It is not certain the time frame when that will happen. But the world needs better money right now. The Federal Reserve is cranking up the money printers to print gazillions of dollars, which is going to cause a ton of inflation, which is going to massively decrease the purchasing power of your dollars. And increasingly, the world will move away from the US dollar, which has already happened. If you look at the amount of US dollars on balance sheets of central banks, the percentage of holdings in US dollars is going down, 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 down. If you look at the amount of US dollars held by people who are as a percentage of their total assets, that is going down. People are trying to get out of US dollars into something else. That something else increasingly will be Bitcoin. But it's brand new technology. Even 17 years old, I mean, that's still new in the grand scheme. The internet started in like 1968 or 1981, depending on how you measure it. The internet's been around like 50 years. And it's still, the internet is still growing every day. Bitcoin is 17 years old and almost nobody had heard of it till 2017. So as far as the moment people actually heard the word for the first time, Bitcoin, it was probably 2017 or more recently, like the last 9 years. So the coming decades will be huge for Bitcoin. What matters is how much Bitcoin you own. So my advice stays the same. Buy as much Bitcoin as you can. Hold on to it for as long as conceivably possible. It's like buying a winning lottery ticket and you're just waiting for everything to play out. But if you know you have a winner, then you buy as much as you can and you hold on to it for as long as possible, because eventually it is the winner. And you can do that in money. You can't do that in other categories, which is why it makes so much more sense to invest in Bitcoin as compared to anything else.